Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We're back with your Monday night edition. Coming up in today's show, reaction to the FA Cup, like it. Ultimate wildcard team if we want to pull the trigger, like it. Man United and Leeds players to buy, yes, please. I'm joined by the busiest man in the world ever today, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, tell us why you've been so busy. Tell us your day job.
Yeah, so obviously transfers is my bread and butter. So checking out transfers, trying to chase up any rumours that are out there, trying to get new news on transfers, work for Give Me Sport and constantly updating them with any news that I'm hearing, and they send me all the rumours that are basically on Twitter or anywhere else, and then I'm just constantly on my phone. My phone has been mad today. It has genuinely been a mad day of transfers. I guess it's deadline day eve, isn't it? So it should kind of be expected. But, Chelsea are on a mad one. Arsenal contemplating just as much of a mad one if they actually do get Jorginho out of Chelsea. So, yeah, I'm sure we're going to cover a lot of this. And we're also going to talk about some of the new signings that are coming in time for the next game week. So, transfers will be covered too within this episode.
I like it. Guys in the chat, hello. Lovely to see so many familiar faces. Haley's with us, and FPL River, and Michael and Frode. Guys, do get your questions in at any point as well. FPL River's just asked about Conor Gallagher to Everton. We've seen a 40 million bid, I think, or 5 million add-ons. That's a lot of money for Everton.
Think about it, right? Conor Gallagher worked with Lampard and a few of his backroom team at Chelsea. Lampard wanted Conor Gallagher there when he was there. This is not the time to be signing Conor Gallagher because he's now heard about what it's like at Everton. And so, as a knock-on effect of that, isn't going to be that keen to go to Everton given the state that they're in. So, yeah, Everton have an interest in Conor Gallagher. He won't go there. He might leave, but the teams that want him aren't really going to pay that money. Crystal Palace haven't got £45 million to spend. Newcastle can't spend £45 million because of FFP. They could loan him, but I think Loftus-Cheek's still in the equation for them too. So, yeah, interesting one.
Like that a lot. And I'm glad for him. Like, as a Chelsea fan, I don't want him to leave. I want him to go out on loan, but I wouldn't want him going to Everton, and not with that mess. I don't think Sean Dycheball's going to suit his style either.
Yeah.
Loads of questions about triple captain. We'll get to that later. In fact, what the hell? Let me just give you a very quick take on triple captain now. I would have said yes, Rashford triple with the fixtures looks good. And then Haaland went and scored a hat-trick in a single game week in 61 minutes, I think it was, against Wolves. Haaland has a game week, a double game week coming up in game week 23. There's no Man City Arsenal replay, which would have been just before that, which would have put me off. It is, I think, a Sunday, Wednesday fixture for Haaland. So he's probably not going to get, he's definitely not going to get 2 sets of 90. That doesn't matter. If you get 2 sets of 60 from Haaland, I prefer that, knowing one of those games is at home to Villa, than the Rashford, perhaps 2 sets of 90 in a good double. So for me, I'd still be holding for Haaland in 23 for those that have got triple captain left. But I don't think Rashford's a bad play. I think you'll probably outscore the 8 points I got from Haaland in the double game week a week ago. But I would be holding for Haaland still.
Yeah, no, that seems to make sense to me. That double is really interesting though, isn't it? Man United also in good form. So I do get it. I do understand the temptation, but let's be let's be honest about this. We've got to be very, very careful with switching that armband. Someone just mentioned the FA Cup draw is soon. Yeah, so if you see me looking up at the TV today, the other day I got a few comments saying, why do I keep looking at the TV? And that's because Leipzig kept scoring goals in a Bundesliga match. Today I'm on the lookout to see who Fulham potentially get in the next round of the FA Cup and whether it's even worth trying in the replay against Sunderland. Because if we get Man City in the next round, we can scrap it. Like Fulham don't need to worry anymore about this competition. But if we get in Wrexham at home, I'm half interested. So I'll let you know on the draw of anything interesting that crops up. I've got it on in front of me. So yeah, I'll let you know. Was it Gaza that asked that? Yeah.
Guys, we'll have some transfer chat coming up. Reaction to that draw. Top tips on United and Leeds players. Our wildcard team, if you're going now. Just want to add, like, we'll go into transfers in a sec, but with Cancelo leaving City, Rico Lewis, I think, is still 3.9. Ake is 5. Rico Lewis and Ake seem more nailed than ever with Cancelo going. Pep's recent comments on Ake, nobody talks about Nathan, and right now he's playing beyond our expectations as a left back. For me, whilst Rico Lewis is amazing, Ake gives you a little bit of goal threat if you can afford it. A Man City defender at 3.9 or 5 feels really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about the
still quite a lot of people got to get Cancelo out their team now, eh? Like that has come as a surprise. Like this was not expected to happen. I spend every day going through transfer rumors and speaking to agents or people at clubs about stuff. And Cancelo leaving in this window was never ever something that I heard. Clearly, him and Pep have had a bit of a to do, and Pep's gone. See ya. Go on then. We'll be fine. Yeah, a few people saying Cancelo leaving City. So yeah, today the news is that Cancelo is joining Bayern Munich, initially on loan. So Man City willing to let him go. It's a big moment.
Yeah, let's crack on then with more transfer chat. We're going to move into fresh off the press.
Yeah, so in the main section of this, I do want to talk about 3 players I think we're all going to be contemplating at some stage in the second half of the season. 3 new signings that are a bit left field, not in top 6 clubs, but ones I think that could make an impact. But first of all, Enzo Fernandez on his way. They're finally agreeing this. They flew out to Portugal and they were determined that they were not going to come back without him on the plane when they returned. And it looks like that is exactly what's going to happen for Chelsea. It's a complete madness spending like 400 odd million pounds in January. It's crazy. But look, this was the biggest flaw in Chelsea's team. So they had to do something. And they're getting, the best young player in this position from the World Cup. So they're actually gone ahead to get what was basically their top target. So I think that's really interesting. The thing that isn't that interesting is in FPL, because this is not somebody. He might be £105 million in real life. He might as well be 4 million in FPL, because I don't think he's really somebody that we're going to be looking at, is he?
No, but he might improve that Chelsea backline. So for clean sheets, Reece James and Chilwell, when they're fit, that might get a bit of a bump there.
Yeah,
he did score a great goal in the World Cup, didn't he? I think it was early on. Did he come on as a sub?
Yeah, he did get one. Yeah, he did get one. Yeah.
But yeah, he's not going to be scoring goals for fun, and he'll come in at like 5 million. He should come in at 5 million. Jorginho's always been around that price. Kante too. I mean, it's a good addition to potentially improve the goal threat and potentially improve clean sheets. So it makes Chelsea better. Therefore, it should make other FPL assets that are otherwise good, perhaps very good.
Yeah, absolutely that. Right, let's talk about these other players then. Leicester City have signed a Brazilian winger, Tete. He's going to be there for the rest of this season at least. We'll have to see what happens beyond that. He's been on loan at Lyon, and he's expected to get good playing time. So Leicester are basically looking to rejuvenate themselves a little bit. They hadn't made signings for a long time. They definitely needed some new life in that attack. And Tete is somebody that a lot of Premier League clubs looked at. He was touted around, to be fair, a fair bit. Leeds almost got him. But Leicester City, if they do have a resurgence in the second half of the season, which is obviously the plan, this guy could be worth looking out for. 5.5 million as a midfielder. Let's see how he settles in the first couple of games. But given his style of play, he might be someone that in a few weeks' time we're thinking, oh, okay, quite like him. Might be worth a go.
I like Leicester on the counter attack, and they one thing Rodgers likes is fast forwards in behind. Like Barnes has always done pretty well. There were times when the likes of Lookman and Gray looked dangerous, but they were always in and out or were in and out before Lookman left. And Vardy has lost a yard, but even the likes of Daka, electric, want to go in behind. Iheanacho struggled at that club because Iheanacho wants to get on the ball and play, and he doesn't want that from his attack. So look forward to seeing this.
Yeah, absolutely that. Right, the next player has come into Tottenham, who obviously need a bit of life. I wouldn't suggest getting him for the next game because Tottenham got Man City. But after that, Tottenham have got a run of games where they play Leicester and West Ham. They then play Chelsea, but then they've got Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Southampton, Everton. Spurs have got a nice run coming up, which they need to really capitalise on and make the most of. And they've signed a forward, Arnaut Danjuma, who does have good ability and good goal creation, good goal productivity, generally speaking, throughout his career. This season, okay, not so much. But in the game, it comes down as a 6.5 million midfielder. He'll be used in attack for Tottenham. He's not a midfielder. He's going to be used in their attack. So as I say, that first week, obviously he's probably not going to play against Man City, I imagine, given he's just signed. But beyond that, Danjuma, he might not be a bad asset. It depends how they use him. Depends what role they look to find him. Depends too what kind of form Son can find. Like if Son manages to continue from where he left off in the FA Cup, maybe he has a revival. But ultimately, I think Danjuma's going to get chances, and he's one to look for in that price range. And the other one, this would be a gamble. Antoine Semenyo has joined Bournemouth as they attempt to save their season. They've signed him for £10.5 million. He's got 8 goals in the Championship this season. He's 5 million in FPL. If you've got faith in this guy, good luck to you. There's a lot of clubs that have genuinely looked at this player and tried to sign him. Crystal Palace were tempted to go in. They couldn't afford it in the end, I was told. But Semenyo has been on the radar of a lot of Premier League teams for a while. I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of him at Bristol City, so I don't know exactly what he brings to the table. But I'm going to put him on the radar early, just in case. Just in case he flies. Because they need something to happen at Bournemouth in the second half of the season. This is a lot of money for them to invest. So, Semenyo, you've been warned. He could be the answer to your FPL prayers.
When teams look like they're going to go down in January, I sometimes think it's smart recruitment to go, okay, we want to make signings because we want to try and stay in the Premier League, but we know there's a very good chance we get relegated. So we're going to improve our squad, not by going and buying randoms overseas. We're going to improve our squad by buying the best players or some of the best players in the Championship, because then if we do get relegated, we're hopefully well set to go again. And we've seen it in the past. I'm trying to think of examples and can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure we've seen some very good examples of that in the past. Those January
absolutely. Signings. It's definitely a well-worn path that clubs in danger look for players that they know are going to work out, even if they are relegated. So there's nothing new in that, but it is interesting. So we'll keep an eye on it. By the way, the FA Cup draw is just about to begin, so I will shout if there's anything exciting that crops up.
Yeah, give some good ones. And we will be, once we've digested that draw, we'll have some live reaction potentially to singles and blank percentage chances of happening off the back of that. I'm going to have my eyes peeled on 1 or 2 certain Twitter accounts, so I know will be posting, doing the hard work for us. Comments about my camera bumping up and down. Yes, the monitor and camera are on a cardboard box. And today I've adjusted my chair. So what I've done is I've not moved. The camera's been on the box for months. It's not moved for years. But the chair has gone up because I was doing some other videos over there and I need to be up against my pool table. So because of that, my chair's still higher. Therefore, my knee is knocking the top of the table. So if I just lower my chair a bit, there we go. That knee's going to stop. But thank you for monitoring that, CH. And just to show, because everyone's probably like, really? Has Gianni got that much of an amateur setup? Yeah. Like there's the box. Yeah. The box is collapsing, look. It's like, and then here, this is taped on because the monitor and the stand aren't even screwed in. Right. And then obviously I'm relying on that space for my camera.
Yeah, I mean, everything else we can see in your house looks pretty nice, mate. I think you could probably afford to buy yourself a little stand there.
Yeah, I know.
Or at least ask for birthday.
I'm on this thing all the time as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing like, I don't know, 4 streams a week on this thing. You'd think I'd just get it right.
It's so funny though. Like, honestly, I reckon like 70% of people that do YouTube would just like find ways to like hold it. I've actually got mine on a box of Lego right now. It's like a build in 5-minute Lego set. So there you go. I can't really make fun of you actually.
Oh, love that. I've seen some comments in the chat about my take on Jorginho. And it's awesome, guys. 179 of you watching. I didn't realize we'd be quite so busy. Clearly, you guys are hungry for FPL content, having had a week off. And also, it's a busy time. We've got a lot to ponder with our transfers. Loads have got 2 free moves. It's a double game week. We're going to show you all my favorite players if you're wildcarding coming up. So lots of chat still to come, FPL related. But in terms of transfers, we'll have another couple of minutes on this. People asking about Jorginho. Thanks, FPL Seal. No surprise, Pep Guardiola wanted Jorginho when he left Napoli. When Pep didn't get his man, he didn't go and buy someone. It was just to like replace Fernandinho at the time. So rather than going shopping for another player like Jorginho, Pep realised there weren't many out there like him. So he went, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to buy my time. And a year later, he signed Rodri, an amazing player, brilliant recruitment from Man City. But Pep's number 1 target 12 months before Rodri was Jorginho. Devastated to miss out on him. He chose Sarri because Sarri had just moved to Chelsea. Arteta plays very similar football to Pep. Arteta's become Pep 2.0. Of course he wants Jorginho. And he's got 6 months left on his Chelsea contract. I'm not surprised they think they can get a player here. Yes, he'll have high wage demands, but a very reasonable fee with 6 months left on his contract. Will Chelsea have to wait and let him see him move in the summer for free? I don't know. I mean, selling to Arsenal would be a bitter pill for Chelsea to swallow.
Yeah, look, they are interested at this stage. Like this, let's not be kidding ourselves. Like this is still a long way off happening, Jorginho, to Arsenal people. So like, yes, I mean, Ornstein and Fabrizio have both tweeted this almost at exactly the same time. So it's had maximum impact on Twitter right now. But I'm told like this isn't imminent or anything like that. And I think we should bear in mind that Jorginho's preference might actually be to go to Serie A. And actually, Napoli might not be the worst place for him to go to right now. They were trying to sign another central midfielder recently. The name evades me right now, but they were in the market for a midfielder. So might open up there. He's on a lot of money too, Jorginho. So we'll have to wait and see how that all works out.
Thanks, CH. Absolutely love that. Lego and pizza. It's not actually a pizza box, but it does look like one.
It did look like one, to be fair, yeah.
Imagine the smell if that was like a pizza box.
You've left it there for months and months.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Make sure you're hitting that like button if you're enjoying the stream. And, of course, subscribing as well. Dean, remind me, the transfer window closes tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 11, yeah.
So we're going to get a ton of transfers coming through in the morning, and then all day tomorrow you're going to have a busy one. Your phone battery will go a couple of times.
Yeah, it's gone once today. We're down. Yeah, we're going down by the minute.
Garav says, who did it better, Matoma or Osimhen? Both similar goals, back stick, couple of touches to shimmy, and then volley home. The Matoma goal was absolutely class. I love that he sort of feints and then sort of dummies to hit. But the Osimhen goal, from the fact that the defender was so tight and the ball comes there, how many players can control that? Then tee himself up and still volley from an even wider angle further out than Matoma. It has to be Osimhen for me.
I liked Matoma's because it was like last minute and stuff, like that. That was pretty good. Fulham have just been drawn out the hat, by the way. So I'll give you a live reaction here. Fulham or Sunderland will play. We're at home and we'll play.
No replays.
Leeds. Fine. Like, that's fine. I mean, it means we have to take the replay seriously because we could win that. The best draw so far is Wrexham, if they get through, would play Tottenham. That's the best one. Yeah. At Wrexham, yeah.
BBC will be there.
That's the best one I've seen so far crop up. But yeah, Fulham v Leeds, not going to get super excited about that. But
friend of the show, Kelly Summers, will be off meeting Ryan Reynolds again. I'm sure the BBC will want that one for one of their.
Yeah, they will. They might as well call it the Wrexham channel.
Haven't they got a documentary being made on Disney as well?
Yeah, it's already there, isn't it? It's that'll lead to another series. Man United have just been drawn too. This will be the last one we'll focus on this FA Cup draw, but this is important. Man United will play Derby or West Ham, whoever wins that game. So, so that's the game. Yeah, it's the game that's being played in a minute. So yeah, Derby or West Ham will play Man United. So that will actually have a bit of a knock-on effect in this game, FPL. So yeah, interesting.
Nice. And remember, guys, there's no replays here, so home advantage really does. No.
Yeah, there
Wait,
is.
is there replays? So it goes to penalties with it? I think it does.
Is it in the 5th round or after the 5th round? Not sure.
Let us know in the chat. Does the 5th round have replays?
I can't think if the 5th round is the cut-off or if it's after the 5th. It used to go all the way. You used to get an FA Cup final. If it's a draw, replay. They come back 3 days later and play it.
Settled on the night, extra time and pens.
Yeah, fine.
It was scrapped in 2015.
The
replays,
yeah.
Good stuff. I'm excited about that, and I know there'll be a few tweets from a well-known Twitter account, Ben Crellin, who's an absolute must-follow, who will have some percentage chances of blanks and doubles. So we'll keep you updated. I've got Ben on my screen right now. Mikhail says that documentary is really good. Yeah,
I've heard this. Yeah, I have heard that this documentary is really good. I've only just got Disney recently, so I need to find time to get involved.
Yeah. Any good for anything else, Disney? Like, obviously, I'm sure the kids are enjoying it.
It keeps the kids busy, so I can actually do some adult stuff. Yeah, like I can actually eat. I can do some work, and yeah, I don't know. Half the time I end up sat here watching Toy Story.
I might have to reconsider that and get on the Disney vibe. Okay, guys, let's move on. Thank you for all your questions. Enjoying the chat. Keep it going, guys. We are watching and monitoring every comment in the chat. We always do. Some make it on screen. Some we question an answer. We can't get to everyone, but it's great to see you guys discussing this stuff too. Let's move on now to the ultimate wildcard team. Some managers are getting twitchy, and if you're not getting twitchy, this will hopefully inspire some of your transfers in this week, regardless of hitting that wildcard button. So it's Pimp My Team. Good stuff. Gianni's wildcard. If I was wildcarding, I'm not wildcarding, but if I was, there we go. Gianni's draft for those wildcarding game week 22. There we go. So who would I go with? Now, we know the doubles we know about, right? We know Arsenal double in 23. So you're going to want triple Arsenal. I've got double currently, but I would be moving towards one. You're going to want definitely triple United for the double this week. There we go. And Leeds, in an ideal world, you have a Leeds player, but at the same time, don't neglect your single game week players. Man City, again, I've got 2. I'd be looking to probably move to 3. So I've got enough money in the bank with this team to make the move from Bruno to KDB, for example. But that will probably be Bruno to Saka to KDB. It would be Bruno to KDB, knowing Arsenal and City double together. But other players to look at. I do have triple Arsenal. I've got Ramsdale.
Oh, yeah.
Ramsdale. So I'd be dropping Kepa. And that covers me in the Arsenal backline. You have to consider Newcastle for double defence. So many of us have got a single Newcastle defender. I would be going 2. Botman feels obvious. Shah's had a price rise today, by the way. I think he's 5.1, and he does offer more goal threat than Botman. But save some pennies. Reece James is back in training, and I just know eventually I'd want to buy him. So if I was wildcarding, I'd probably throw him in. Is he going to get 90 or even 60 versus Fulham?
I said he might feature against Fulham, yeah. So I guess probably 30, watch that game and then see, yeah.
Lewis feels like, if you can afford Ake, great. If you can't, Lewis feels like he's going to start 8 in 10 Premier League games. You take that for any Man City defender. Shaw's now. What's interesting about this draft is it's got a couple of Brighton players. Now, Brighton do not have a double game week on the horizon, and they do have some blanks on the horizon. But the points are there now for Brighton. So the likes of Matoma and March, I'd bung them straight in. March would be on the bench most weeks, admittedly. But the way Brighton are playing, their XG against Liverpool, again, was over 2 goals. Like, they scored 2, and their XG was at 2.1. And the other week, they scored 3 or 4 against Liverpool. Like, this is an elite attack at the moment. And Matoma and March are the key cogs in that attack. As I said, I'd be going big on United for the double game week. I would be captaining Rashford with this team. I wouldn't be triple captaining him. Haaland's obviously a lock. I'd be sticking with Kane for reasons we've spoken about a lot on this stream. The consistency is there. The explosiveness isn't. But Kane against City, I'm not expecting much, but then he goes against Leicester and West Ham, and the fixtures look pretty good for Spurs. And with more firepower up top, the likes of Dan Juma signing, I think that could be good for him. Richarlison's now back. There's a bit more strength and depth there at Spurs attack. And then Nketiah, when you look at the numbers for Nketiah versus the other Arsenal forwards, it's pretty surprising how good he's been since the restart. This is a big man backer tweet who is likely to be on the show at the end of the week with us. Nketiah, Saka, Martinelli and Odegaard since the restart. Big chances. Nketiah 7, the others 1-1-0. Expected goal involvement 4.9 for Nketiah, the others all under 3. Shots in the box 18 for Nketiah, the others all under 13 or under. So Nketiah feels like the Arsenal attacker to go for right now if you're going to only pick one. And then if you're not, if you can afford Saka, great, but Odegaard over Martinelli for me. What do you think, Dean? I mean, for me, this isn't a good enough team. This is a great team, but it looks pretty similar to a lot of our teams anyway. You and I got a lot of these players. There is no need to necessarily wildcard. But if you don't have any of these guys, or you're miles off getting to this sort of looking team in a couple of weeks.
I think that's it, isn't it? If you're enough transfers away from getting to a decent team, then you can go for it, and it probably is going to be worth it because some of these could run away. John says Fernandes a captain shout ahead of Rashford. I don't think so. I mean, Rashford's just... I don't know if I've seen Rashford in this good a form for like ever. Like he's so confident. He's on everything at the moment. I just don't think I would take that risk, John. Fernandes is definitely playing himself into better form, but he's also, 3 million more than Rashford.
Yeah,
like that just seems unnecessary to me. I would just take Rashford as the easy option there.
Yeah, and if you do own both, like for me, it's a no-brainer which one you captain. No-brainer. I don't mind owning Bruno for that price if you don't have KDB and you want to cover that price point. Knowing Bruno to KDB is a really obvious move for game week 23 for KDB's double. Or you might even go Bruno down to Mahrez. Mahrez is getting a ton of starts right now. I don't know. Mahrez KDB questions difficult. Like I don't think you move from one to the other. But if you didn't have either, I'd be inclined now to probably save the money and go Mahrez. Would you, Dean?
Yeah, I think Mahrez has played himself into, again, form that I haven't seen from him in forever, like I was talking about Rashford. So I think that's interesting. Guarav brings up a good point there about what might Bruno's position be if Eriksen is out injured too. Like United have obviously got a few problems at the moment. So, Van der Beek and McTominay, now Eriksen. There is a possibility that Fernandes is used slightly differently. I know we've talked about using him wide at times, but like he might have to be a bit more conservative in his play depending on what United do, because it doesn't look like they're going to be signing anybody else. So that is quite a good point to build into it. I mean, you've got Mitoma and March. Yeah. You said after watching them that you would go for Mitoma over March 100% now. And I guess after the FA Cup game too, that kind of nails that one down.
Yeah, and look, you always need... I see midfielders and forwards as 8 attackers, right? So from those 8, no matter what formation you're playing, you always have to bench one of them, which is why we like the 4.5 mids, Andreas, and we like the 4.5 forwards or the 4 million forwards that can be bench fodder. Greenwood at Leeds, I think it's 4.1. You can throw that place away, or you can go for Andreas at 4.5 or spend a bit more and have a March who can come in every now and then if someone's injured or suspended. Or if you want to play the fixtures. So this week, it'd be difficult because March would be my bench player, but I'd look at the fixtures there and go, he's got Bournemouth at home. Do I bench Kane or do I bench Odegaard? I don't know. I'd probably still bench March, but it's an interesting one. I've had a few tweets today and yesterday saying, I've got a benching dilemma. I've got Mitoma on my bench. I would not be benching Mitoma. March I would, but Mitoma, I mean, a few have asked, do I bench Mitoma or Kane? Genuinely, given the choice, if it was just left or right, X or Y, I'd be benching Kane over Mitoma this week.
Would you for this week? Yeah.
Mitoma to Bournemouth is a gift. This guy is electric, and he looks so good against Liverpool.
It's hard to overlook form like that. It really is. I mean, look, Kane's pretty consistent across the season, sure. But you're right. If you want to get that little edge, Mitoma does feel like the guy to turn to. Yeah, interesting.
Mark mentions loads of blanking players in game week 25. And you're right. Loads could be blanking in 25. We don't know 100% on those 25 blanks just yet. but we will know them very soon. So yeah, I may have to make a couple of changes with that in mind. The likes of Newcastle, for example, likely to be blanking, the same as Man United. What I would say is before now on 25, all my transfers would be geared towards that. So I'd have an opportunity to sell a player in 22, 23, 24, and 25. That's 4 players that would be blanking now, that would be out my team. Brighton as well, by the way, likely to blank in 25. So yeah, you'd have to have strong consideration there. But what I would say about blank 25, we're worrying a little bit too much about it, knowing so many of our players each week only earn 2 points. So in 25, your player 9, 10, and 11 will probably only get 2 points anyway. If you can only field 9 players or 10 players, you're not missing out big time. I'd rather field a good team of 9 than a rubbish team of 11 just for the sake of having players out that are going to get 1 or 2 points. It's not the be all and end all. Think of the points on offer now.
I think it just does something to your brain when you look at your team and you realise that there's not enough players.
Yeah.
Something sparks. And it's really hard to avoid the transfers that allow you to get back up to 11, because it feels like wrong to go ahead and just go with 9 players, doesn't it? Like, it's such a strange feeling. But you're right. Like, the reality of it is that it often doesn't make that much difference.
Yeah, you always have those players. Player 10, 11, they're getting 1 pointers. You don't miss out.
Yeah.
So many aren't buying Brighton players, Dean. On FPL Twitter, it's hilarious. There are so many not looking at Brighton because they blank in 25 and they're probably blanking in 28. And it's like, dude, they played Bournemouth this week. They're the best attack in the league on current form. You can still buy a Brighton mid and you can sell them when they blank, or you can just go without. They're playing Bournemouth,
it's
Palace,
so
Fulham.
far away. Like, anything could happen. It's I don't ever look that far ahead. Like, I barely used to look beyond the next game. So I'm like, no. But so I'm always like 2 game weeks maybe ahead. But beyond that, I'm just like, look, I'm going to live in the moment for this game, because who knows you could get injured at any time to any of these players. Cancelo could be sold, like's happened to loads of people today. So yeah, there's lots to reason, but sometimes you just overthink it.
Yeah, I can report on the game week 28 blanks as we're talking about this.
Yeah.
The moment we know there are 4 fixtures going ahead: Arsenal, Palace, Villa, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, and Forest, Newcastle. So that, look, loads of us will have triple Arsenal by then. We might have a Chelsea player or 2. But then you look at it and go, okay, the games we hope that are going to be on will be Brentford, Leicester, Wolves, Leeds, and Liverpool, Fulham. But then it's very likely the games that will be off will be Brighton, United, Southampton, Tottenham, City, West Ham. So there's game week 28 feels like it might be a team we struggle to get anywhere near 11 out. Therefore, what we might have to do is save our transfers as we gear towards 28 and dead end our team. And when I say dead end our team, that means bring in players that you know will play in the blank, knowing off the back of 28, you'll be either free hitting or wildcarding, likely wildcarding, to set yourself up for the doubles ahead. That might be my strategy. We'll have more on chip strategy in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's mid-March, that game week. It's still January. I'm not going to worry right now.
Fair point. It's great to see so many watching, Dean. 271 tuning in now. Loads of good comments as well. Danny asking -4, Greenwood to Nonto. Is that worth the hit? I'd say so. And you'll hear this every double game week. A 4-point hit in a double game week is only a 2-point hit if you're transferring out a player that's only going to play in one of those games for a player that will play in 2. Now, Greenwood to Nonto is a weird one because they both play for Leeds. They should both double. They should both play twice. But Greenwood won't. He'll probably get 2 cameos or 1 cameo off the bench. Nonto's going to start both. So yeah, for minutes alone, you're getting 4 points out of Nonto.
Yeah. Oh, Nonto, man. Like, I read an interview with him. He did an interview in the Telegraph today.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine, Mike McGrath, and it was his character just even came across in the interview. He seems like the nicest man in the world. He talks about how excited he was when he found out he was joining Leeds. The pictures, he's got this huge smile on his face. He talks a lot about, like, even when I'm not having a good game, I know I'm not, I'll always give it everything. And you do see that in him, don't you? Like, the fight in him. Maybe it's a problem with yellow cards in future. I don't know. But this guy, he is winning a lot of people over. We were early on this train, the Nonto train, and I'm staying on it. I really am contemplating getting him into my team at the moment.
Oh, yeah, he even looked good in the FA Cup when he came off the bench, and it was nice to see him rested because he's been playing all the sets of 90. He's
Yeah,
not been
yeah,
coming off
beauty
like
in
the
that
other
game.
lead
Yeah,
attackers.
yeah.
Bamford started and looked really good.
Mate, did you see that
That assist
assist?
to Firpo's goal.
It
Yeah,
was absolutely insane. If you have not seen Bamford's assist for Leeds,
it was
get on
juicy.
it as soon as this show's over because it was ridiculous. If it was anyone else, if that was like Messi
Yeah,
or Mbappe or whatever, like
be
we would
viral.
all be watching it multiple times a day on socials. But it just reminds you of like how good he is.
Yeah.
And what Leeds do miss when he's not there because he's just got this creativity about him as well as the goal scoring.
Does
Lovely
he come
player.
into does he play both in the double, Dean? Because they
You
play on a
can't count on
Sunday,
that.
Wednesday. So there's
You
not much
can't.
time between fixtures and they're both away games. So you got the extra travel. Sunday, Wednesday, I'm like, oh, I know he's not going to play 90 or get close to 90, but does he start both? Could he get 2 sets of 60? Because if so, a 7.2 million, 0.5% owned, whilst I love Nonto, Bamford's the better FPL scorer. Maybe not, Nonto might be the main man on the pitch, but in terms of goals and assists, Bamford will clock serious numbers if he gets minutes.
He might, yeah, that is a good point. He only has to get over 60 minutes. That is true.
He's going to get a 60 and a 30, isn't he? He's not going to
Yeah.
start both.
I don't think I could be brave enough to rely on him.
I'm not sure
He's
either.
too much of a liability.
He has been sick, no
Sad
way.
to say. Sad to
I
say.
would go for a 1 week punt though if I did buy Bamford or Nonto, because my plan with that third striker spot is to convert them to Nketiah for 23. But I'm going to go for a Leeds or United attacker possibly before I go to Nketiah. So it could be Weghorst. If we hear that Martial's still out for a while, and I think Weghorst starts both, I might just go Weghorst then Nketiah, because Weghorst has got 2 homes.
I think Weghorst will keep his place. He's doing really well. I
Yeah,
like the way that he's working with this Man United team. I think it's fine. He's definitely becoming an option, like a serious option. Like we just need to see a bit more, I don't know, potency, I guess, around the goal. Like let's just see him stick a couple more in, and then I think we can start counting on him. Martial, I think, might struggle to get in if he can score more goals.
Yeah. CH, we love you very much. Get your thumb on that like button, he says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
Everyone
mate.
do that right now. I'm even going to do it. I've got YouTube loaded up here. I'm going to give it a like right now to praise myself for the great job we are doing.
Do you not do that every show?
No, I don't. I should.
I do.
Should, shouldn't I?
Before you tune in and you're there in the waiting room, and there's always like 3 likes. It's usually me, FPL River, and CH.
Just the guaranteed triple.
Let's move on. We've had a look at our team. We've still got loads to get through tonight. We've got 20 minutes to do it. We're going to take your questions. We've got FPL Visa, and next up, we've got FPL Tips and Chips. Here we go. The $1 million question is, I own Rashford, I own Shaw. Who's the third United asset? I don't want to buy Weghorst. An extra United midfielder. Now, Eriksen would be in this list if he wasn't flagged, but Eriksen left the ground on crutches. We saw the tackle, I think, from Andy Carroll. Wasn't too great. So let's compare 3 players that we think are very likely to start. Certainly one, if I think both. Anthony's the only risk for 2 starts here, but Anthony should get both. Especially with Bruno perhaps having to play a little deeper, knowing Bruno won't play on the right. But Bruno playing on the right, by the way, guys, has only been something we've seen United doing against strong opposition. I think in the second half against Arsenal, I think against Man City, where you drop an Anthony out and you go, I'm going to play 1 fewer attackers or have Bruno slightly higher up the pitch. But let's compare these 3. The prices are all completely different. And look, we're shopping in different supermarkets here. You're shopping in, a Waitrose to a Tesco to an Aldi. And it depends on your budget. But the expected goals is interesting because Casemiro, since the restart, has a higher XG than Bruno. Bruno's goals have come out of nowhere, really.
Yeah. I mean, Casemiro is an unexpected goal machine.
Yeah.
He loves it. He's got
this
a
is
taste
without the
of
FA
it.
Cup goals. This is just Premier League.
Exactly. Like now he's got a taste of it. He's like, I want more of this. Casemiro is really interesting at 4.9, just as like the extra one.
Yeah.
Like everyone contemplates that 5th midfielder. Like, what do they want to do with it? And Casemiro at 4.9 now. I think it's such a good option.
Yeah.
I think that it really is, especially looking at United's form. We're in a double game week.
With no Eriksen out,
Eriksen out.
does that make it better or worse for Casemiro? Because he could be replaced, Eriksen, by a Fred or a McTominay, and that could give Casemiro even more license to get forward. Although you could argue United's midfielder is weaker without having Eriksen
They're not as good.
That's
yeah, exactly. They're
not
not as good. That's going to be the problem. But ultimately, he's exactly as the comment says. Just going from River, like he is a DM, but he has been surprisingly good going forward. But he's Brazilian. Maybe we should have expected this all along. I know
his goal in the World Cup was amazing against Switzerland. I think it was.
It's just in the DNA, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's a bit of a. He's good at set pieces. He gets
set pieces. He's good at too. Yeah.
As well. He's not the tallest, but he wins headers.
Yeah.
Expected assists. Okay, so we've seen the expected goals with Casemiro out in front. Now, as you'd expect, Bruno 1.91. I'm mentioning here penalties because the last penalty United got, Rashford took it and Bruno was on the pitch. When they're both on the pitch, surprised to see it was Rashford. So I'd only expect that to continue unless they're alternating. But I think it was Ollie that once said they might alternate. I expect with this manager, it's you're on pens and you're staying on them. So I think the way Rashford is playing, he'll continue on pens. So with Bruno at 9.9, we've historically gone and you get penalties. It's worth it. But I'm not sure you're going to get penalties this time around. But you will get a lot of free kicks, and 1.91. I think he'll be on some set pieces, though Luke Shaw's obviously on most. He'll touch the ball more than anyone else. Successful passes, sure, they don't matter too much. But the FPL points Bruno's been scoring has been really credible. But before the restart, pretty poor. This isn't the Bruno we've seen under Solskjaer, where he was almost playing as a second striker. He's been in a midfield three and therefore sometimes the assist of the assist and just looking a little bit goal shy. But since the restart, the numbers have been good, but I don't know if that's sustainable. And I'm reluctant to spend that sort of money. Anthony really interests me, Dean. He's been rubbish. There's no doubt about it. United fans are like, who is this guy we've spent all this money on? And those numbers don't look great either. But I feel like the last couple of times I've watched Anthony, including in the FA Cup, he's looked a bit brighter. And I just think he could be a fun differential. For some reason, I prefer Anthony to Casemiro, which is ridiculous looking at these numbers. But I just can't get out of my head that Casemiro plays so deep and Anthony is so close to the goal.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a couple of mates that go to a lot of United games, and they say Anthony is much better at the game than he is when you watch him on TV. They say you see a lot more from him in terms of like the work rate he puts in, like how much focus he's got on what he's supposed to be doing, and actually getting in positions where it looks like he's going to make things happen. Obviously, what we see most of the time on TV is he gets the ball, tries a spin or goes in a circle one way or the other. It does frustrate. He rolls his foot over the ball so many times. I'm like, this is so unnecessary. I get it. You can do it and you're very, very good. But we're not getting anywhere with the rollovers. But yeah, stats-wise, there's nothing to see here. I feel like in real life, he is starting to come to life. I think that might be the thing. We always talk about the eye test here, and we try to talk about what we actually see as opposed to like what the data shows us, because there's both sides to look at this, and you can sometimes tell when a player's coming into form and the stats aren't necessarily showing it. And Anthony, Man United fans will hope, is in that bracket. He seems like he might be becoming more comfortable now with the setup and stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. I feel like when he gets a goal, he might go on a little run as well. But I do think whoever I buy in this slot will probably be a short-term option. Knowing United will be blanking very likely in 25, I think it will be an easy sell, especially knowing I'll already be quite heavily invested with Rashford and Shaw. But an interesting dilemma. Some will have KDB and think, do you go Bruno for a week and then do you go back to KDB? I just don't feel like that's a productive use of transfers on... Yeah, KDB is Tottenham away, but I'd happily play him in that fixture. And then to go between them just feels like a waste of a transfer. But I'm considering something like Martinelli out and Anthony in. And yes, I need to get Arsenal back for 23. I want 3 of them, but I don't want Martinelli. This is a good excuse, if you like, to come off him for a week.
Yeah.
Then I can replace him with Odegaard, and I go Odegaard and Nketiah for the week after. So that might be my reasoning. Again, I could go I could go to Rodrigo instead, but I do prefer going triple United than double United and one Leeds, unless I think Bamford's going to start both games. That would tempt me in that attacking slot. But yeah, loads to ponder there. The reason I'm backing United over Leeds is purely the fixtures. Leeds have an away game to Forest, which is difficult. Forest are playing really well at home, and don't forget that. And then Leeds play again away at Old Trafford, and it's a Sunday-Wednesday split. For United, slightly easier. It's Saturday-Wednesday. We like that extra day. And it's no travel time, both home fixtures. They welcome Palace and then they welcome Leeds. And I think that Leeds game, Leeds United's always fiery. That could be a 3-3. You're going to get goals, and I want investment there. But I just love the fact that it's Leeds plus Palace at home rather than Forest away and United away. Therefore, I think triple United is probably on the cards.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just looking at my team now, and I'm like, I've got De Bruyne still in my team, and I'm like, is De Bruyne going to be worth the money, do you think? Like, we've had this debate before. Like, do we need all these prime assets? I've got Haaland, I've got Kane. Do I need that third premium in De Bruyne? Like, I've got to see something from him very soon.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm thinking it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's like a lot of money. It's a huge amount of money. 12.5. I don't remember him ever being this expensive. You'd usually spend 10, 11 on him. Bruno sort of money.
And there are players way cheaper than that you could be having now and expecting the same sort of output. So, like, that is actually annoying me as I'm looking at it now on my screen. So
but it does double next week, Dean. So you have Villa, Arsenal, and then you probably assess that. But then you would be assessing it in 24, 25, and you'd go, do I really want to sell De Bruyne ahead of Forest and Bournemouth?
So you think I'm just going to have him for the rest of the season?
So maybe now is the time to get rid, and you go De Bruyne to Bruno. And then in 23, instead of replacing Bruno with De Bruyne again, you use that as an excuse to downgrade to Mahrez.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Mahrez is an interesting one, and that might be a route I take as well. There are so many options this game week. I really need to spend some time thinking about my move, because at the moment, as I've mentioned, I've got about 10 directions I could go in.
Yeah, you got many hours of work ahead.
Yeah, loads of sleepless nights. Great, can't wait. Let's move on to loads of new viewers tonight, by the way, and make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you are. And of course, thank you for all the likes. We've not done this for a while. We're going to move on to something called FPL Visa. Check it out.
Yeah, so on FPL Visa, I basically give Gianni a bunch of names and we go accept, reject, or delay. Let me just stick the list to one side so I can see the comments at the same time. So we go defenders first, then we move on to midfielders and then strikers, G. So the first defender I'm going to throw at you is Sven Botman. What would you do with him right now? Accept, reject, or delay in terms of getting him into your team?
I made a bit of an error 2 weeks ago. I went Ake instead of Botman. And it was because I was like, City got a double in 23. I was one of those people looking 4 or 5 weeks ahead. Ake's had like a 2 and a 1. Botman's had 2 sets of 6. And that's just what Botman does. You're not going to get goals. You're not going to get a huge amount of bonus. But those 6 pointers add up, and he's 4.5 million. Yes, there's not doubles on the horizon. It doesn't matter. He's got West Ham and Bournemouth up next. He'll probably keep another 2 clean sheets. Easy accept. And guys in the chat, if you all agree, let us know. But I'm guessing most are going to say accept.
Yeah, it's only at the moment FPL Marshall saying delay. So that is...
he's scared of the blank.
And Keith's saying delay too. But yeah, it does seem like an easy accept to me too. I'd probably go along with that. Keep your comments coming in, people, as we go through these. We've got 3 from each position to go through. A few more accepts coming through now. So I think that's the general consensus. What about Luke Shaw? Never sure which position he's going to play these days, but undoubtedly on form wherever he is.
Yeah, it's weird. I was annoyed seeing him at centre back when he was in my FPL team. I was like, I'm not going to get any assist threat. He actually does better in the bonus points system at centre back, or he did when he played there. I think he got a 3 bonus playing centre back because of all the clearances, the interceptions, the blocks, and he's still on set pieces, so he still gets the upside and the big chances created and stuff like that. So yeah, very easy except for me on this one with the double game week 2.
Yeah. Referee Rick says reject Shaw, doesn't give a reason. Maybe he just doesn't like him. Most people saying accept on Shaw too. This guy, I think I've still got him in my team. Gabriel at Arsenal. as he
He's
hunts down the
5.2
title.
million, which
Yeah.
when you can get White at 4.7 and save that 0.5, I think you do it. Now, Gabriel's got much more goal threat than White, sure. White's got a slightly higher assist threat, but I'd prefer White knowing you save 500,000. And even better than that, I'd prefer just to try and accommodate either 3 forwards, midfielders, strikers, or 2 attackers, and maybe even Ramsdale, who's slightly less, as you saw from the wild card. So as good as Arsenal are, and I definitely want triple for the wild card for the 23. I think I'd be swerving him. I think it would either be a delay. I'm going to go void, reject.
Yeah. Oh, I've got him, and that doesn't bode well for me. FPL River says reject. Arsenal attack better. Yeah, I get that.
I'd hold him if you still own him, though. If you own him, I wouldn't be selling him, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't contemplate getting rid of him. Yeah, so I guess that's the point of the game. Yeah, do we get them into our team? And I guess if I didn't have him right now, I wouldn't be desperate to bring him in. That's a fair point. Right, midfielders. The first one, I've got Bruno written on the list. I'm not sure if that's Fernandez or elsewhere, but pick a Bruno and tell me if you'd have to accept, reject, or delay into your team.
It's accept because of the double, but if it was any other game week, honestly, if it was a single game week, I wouldn't even be considering it. It wouldn't be a delay. It'd be a simple just no, don't buy Bruno. But double game weeks do this to FPL managers. We get blinded by them. His form has been good. Yeah. And the fixtures are there. The 2 homes, the spread of fixtures, it would be accept. But it would be for a 1 week punt. I'd be looking to ship him straight away.
Yeah. Someone just said any Bruno except. It's a good point. If you've got any chance to sign a player called Bruno, just go for it because it seems like they know what they're doing. Yeah, a lot of people liking that a lot. It does make sense in that double, I guess. What about Rodrigo? What do you think of this one? I mean, I'm not convinced by it, but you might have seen more than.
I forget that this is a guy that played for Bolton like 10 years ago. I saw that pop up on my Twitter the other day. And he has been good, and he does go on good runs. At the start of the season, Rodrigo was sensational. Like, he got a lot of high ownership early on. With Bamford back, Nonto playing like he is, them signing a 35 million forward, I don't think he starts both games. And if he does, he's first sub every time. Like, I look at managers' substitutions a lot for FPL because when I'm buying a player, I don't just want to buy a 70-minute man. And this is why I want to move off Martinelli. Now Trossard's in the team.
Yeah.
Martinelli will be first subbed even more than he has been, and he'll be off at 70. Those last 20 minutes of a football match for a team like Leeds or Arsenal, they often have a real go. If they're down, they're throwing the kitchen sink at it. But even when they're up, they look dangerous on the counter as the other team is pushing. And I want my guys getting 90, which is why I probably won't end up buying Bamford. But Rodrigo, I can promise you now, will not get 2 sets of 90 in the double. I'd be surprised if he gets 1. And as I say, I don't even think he starts both. So I wouldn't. And look, you're only buying him because of the double. Therefore, again, it's not one I would delay. It'd be a simple reject Rodrigo.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus too. Almost everyone has said reject on that one, and Paul says he agrees with all of your explaining. The last one, the last midfielder, I know what you're going to say. It's Mitoma. He's your new little project. You're going to accept him, aren't you?
Do you know, a couple of years ago, Dean, he was playing university football. University football a couple of years ago. It's ridiculous. Like, at 18 years old.
How good he was.
Oh, he must have been ridiculous. Like, at 18, I was doing some research today. I've made this 60-second short on Mitoma, which will be on my social soon. He rejected. He was playing academy football under 10s for like a top tier club in Japan. He got to the point where he was 18, offered a pro contract, and he said, "No, I'm going to university." And this team playing like the J1, the Premier, the top tier in Japan. He went, "No, I'm going to university." He studied physical education. He wrote his thesis on the art of dribbling, and then he graduates, goes back to that team at like the age of 22. 21 goals in 50 games, literally a season later, Brighton, 3 million euros, see you later, off to England. But a couple of years ago, he was in his university team.
That is madness. And also, fair play to Brighton's scouting system for managing to pick him up.
How do they do it?
And having the data and the scouting that could convince them that he could work in the Premier League, because not many clubs would have taken that chance. But Brighton are very, very good at this. That's what they do. That's why they have so much success. Right, let's move on to the strikers quickly so we can get some questions at the end. The first one, Veghorst. What would you do with Veggie?
I'm going to delay on this until we know more about Martial. Whilst I think the manager likes him, I still think a fit Martial gets a ton of minutes and therefore they'll end up sharing them. But if Martial's out and we think he's going to start both, yeah, I'd look at it. But delay for now.
No. Delay for now. Nonto, I always think he's going to be listed as a midfielder. Is he listed as a forward?
Yeah, he is 5 million forward, which is annoying.
I forgot this.
He should be a mid.
He really should.
I would still bring him in because it'd be a fun double game week own. I don't think I know I won't be going there though with Bamford back.
Should I bring him in for Ings? I've got a dilemma with Ings. Should I bring in Nonto?
Yeah, probably. Or Weghorst.
Or Weghorst.
Or Bamford.
I'm not taking Bamford. I'm too scared of him. The last one is Eddie Nketiah, superstar at Arsenal right now.
Yeah, easy buy. The numbers are so good. I said earlier in the show, go back and watch if you haven't seen the last hour, but I mentioned all of his numbers, how they are superior to those 3 Arsenal mids, who are all still brilliant, by the way. Nketiah's smashing it, and Jesus isn't back anytime soon. And even when he is, I think he'll struggle for games. Well, I think they'll share minutes, but
yeah,
Nketiah, easy buy, double game week round the corner.
Yeah, nice one. That was an FPL Visa, back after a long absence.
Yeah, it seems like ages
It's been a while.
Yeah, and good to see the chat getting involved as well. Most of them agree with me this week. We didn't have too many controversial ones, which is good for our first week back. We're easing it in.
Yeah, just easing G back into that game.
Nketiah is Darwin gone right. Proper stats, proper results. Which is weird because I don't think, he's not as, doesn't look as good as Darwin in terms of all the stuff he does away from the goal. But in terms of productivity,
he knows where the goal is. That's what's important.
He can actually score.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't earn an £80 million move or 70 or whatever it was. Good to see so many still watching. Nearly 300. I'd love us to get to 300. We're more likely if you hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. Any quick fire questions we want to flash up on screen? Here we go. Alex, who scores more points? Bruno and Akanji or Salah and Martinez? Probably Bruno and Akanji.
Salah, he's not in this game still, is he? Didn't know he's still a footballer. Right. Nketiah and Almiron or Mitro and Odegaard. I think someone answered this in the chat for us. Mitro and Odegaard for me, I think.
Yes. Just. Will Dyche save Everton? I think he probably will. And I do think at some point this season, Everton defence will be on our radar. Tarkowski is
exactly what they needed. Like, this Everton team do not need anything complicated. They need to go long. They need to play on set pieces. They need to be drilled at the back. They need no nonsense football. They need someone that brings everything together again. Dyche will do that. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't love him, but I can admire his stance and what he does with football teams. And I think that this is a good fit for right now.
He's going to keep him up and then get sacked in the summer.
And that might well happen, yeah.
Ake, keep or sell? Easy keep. Pep is raving about this guy. He was only rested recently and he came on at half time. Annoying because they got the clean sheet against Wolves. Ake is a very easy hold. In fact, buy Ake, especially with Cancelo going.
Interesting, yeah. Start Mitoma or Saka this game week. Oh, that's an interesting one for you. What did you do there?
Well, I think Dyche, 2 weeks on the training ground he's had, I think Arsenal might end up winning that football match 1-0. I think it's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's no longer the game that it was, is it? That's very fair.
You manage a bounce.
Yeah, is it important to wait till the Newcastle-Southampton game before making a game week 22 transfers? I'll let you take that one.
Oh, when is the Newcastle-Southampton game? What am I missing here? As in the cup game? Yeah, because that will affect our potential blank. So, for example, if Newcastle were through to the Carabao Cup final, we could see, I think that means that guarantees they blank in 25. Yeah. Wait. Also, injuries, press conference. I always wait to the press conferences unless you've got the exact funds for a move now that you have to go with because you're not going to be able to afford that move on Friday. Remember, the deadline is Friday. Then hold, guys, because you often get so much intel on a Thursday, Friday, which is why this stream is so important later in the week. And we'll likely be back on Friday with a stream. Do hit the notification bell, though, because we haven't exactly confirmed a time and a date for that. It could be Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. It's the big one on Friday, you see.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the deadline, I think, 6:30. You're off to Chelsea Fulham, which is the Friday night game on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
So we'll very likely be streaming. We'll definitely be streaming before that deadline at some point, probably very close to it. So please do set those reminders and hit that notification bell when you subscribe. But for now, guys, thank you very much. Dean, have a good day tomorrow. You'll be in front of your phone all day?
I will be up early, up late, and on my phone everywhere in between. But yeah, it'll be a busy deadline day, so it will be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you're following us on Twitter as well for my pointless FPL tweets, but some of Dean's transfer chat as well. Our handles both on screen. Follow Chasing Green Arrows. But for now, he's been Dean, I've been Janny, and we've been Chasing Green Arrows.